Hi everyone, Kathy here with the Math Collective. Today we're going to be talking about demystifying assessments for grade 3 through 5, though in reality a lot of these strategies can be implemented with students who are older, our middle school students too. And this is going to be part one of a series of videos where I'm just going to be sharing some of the assessment practices that I've collected over the years to empower our educators and our students to feel more confident when it comes to test taking. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with a routine called How Many Ways. And the way that this routine works is that you present your target number and you ask your mathematicians, how many ways can you make the number 100? And you give them some quiet think time as a class. In terms of management, I encourage students when they have one idea to put one thumb to their chest, and then if they gather a second idea to add a finger, and that just honors the think time for our community, and it allows everyone to have a chance to come up with an idea before we start hearing from students. So we're going to pause here, and I'm going to invite you to collect as many ways as you can to make the number 100, and then go ahead and press play when you're ready. Okay, so let's go ahead and collect some ideas. You might have a student share that 101 minus 1 is 100. You might have another student say 99 plus 1 is 100. You might have a student know that 10 times 10. It really depends on the age range and the experiences of our students, what they're sharing and how they're sharing. You might have a student just share in word form that it is 100. Right? So you're going to collect as many different ideas as are coming up in your community. And if you're noticing that the ideas are predominantly addition or subtraction, you can encourage them or give them a nudge. Is there a way that we could write a subtraction expression that equals 100? Is there a way that we could bring in multiplication? Again, it depends on your grade level. So you're going to collect as many as you can. And this is how you make how many ways. It's just an opportunity to deepen our understanding of place value and number sense, decomposing, recomposing numbers. So that's how this routine goes, and I'm going to show you how it then connects to our test taking strategies and different tasks that students encounter on assessments. Here we see a story problem. There are 100 stickers. 4 friends want to share the stickers equally. What are all the ways they can share the stickers? Select all the answers or all that are correct. And we have our 4 different choices. It's really important to give students opportunities to solve problems that have multiple or potentially multiple correct answers, because when they see that, if they aren't familiar with that, they might be thinking there's one correct answer, and as soon as they identify one that meets the criteria, they're going to select it and move on and leave points on the table. So we want to really encourage them that anytime they see select all or choose all of the answers that apply, that they're going to be responsible for assessing each and every one of the answer choices. And the first thing that I encourage students to do is to solve the problem before looking at the answer choices. So in this case, we have 100 stickers, we have 4 friends, and we want to split those evenly. And how many would each person get? This is a really great opportunity to highlight for students that they can use any strategy that makes sense to them. So if they already know that 100 divided by 4 is 25, then that's beautiful. If they want to use multiplication, 4 times what number gets me 100, and that's 25, also great. If they want to use repeated addition, what number do I add 4 times to get to 100, also great. If they need to use a direct modeling strategy where they're going to distribute those, even if it's by ones, everyone gets 1 until I get 25, or if they are able to maybe hand out larger amounts at a time until they get their answer, that's also fine. So in this case, they're not being told specifically you need to use this strategy, but it's up to the mathematician. And we want to make sure that they feel empowered to flexibly use strategies to solve. And in the end, they're going to see that if they have 100 stickers and they're going to have 4 friends, that means that each person is going to get 25 stickers, or that 100 divided by 4 would get you your 25 stickers in each group. So we have an understanding of the total, the number of friends is our groups, and how many are in each group is going to be 25. And now we can look at our answer choices and evaluate whether or not they are applying to the problem. So 4 times 25, would 4 times 25 help us figure out how they could share the stickers evenly? Yes, it would, because it matches that each of our 4 groups is getting 25 stickers. 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25, we again have our 4 groups of 25 there, so we see that that's another way of representing the problem. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, now this is going to give us a total of 40 stickers, which is not enough, so C is not a valid answer choice for us. And lastly, 100 divided by 4, which is going to get us our 25. So if students don't automatically understand that these are equal to 100 and 125, then you're going to encourage them to solve the problems for themselves. And again, thinking about how in this one problem, they're actually solving 5 problems. It's the initial problem they're solving, and then they have to evaluate each of the expressions and getting them accustomed to slowing down, showing their work, and building their stamina as mathematicians to tackle a problem like this that they might see on an assessment. Okay, so for the next part of our session, we're going to revisit our how many ways, and I'm going to invite you to take a moment and pause to see how many ways can you make 55. And here you see some of the different responses that students might share. You might be encouraging them to try out different operations or even more than one step. Can you have an expression that has 2 different operations in it? So really building our flexibility, and this would be representative maybe of 4th grade class and the thinking at a 4th grade level. And now I'm going to show you how this connects to an assessment question that sometimes students encounter and struggle with. Okay, so here we see a problem that says decide whether each expression is equivalent to 5 times 11. Select yes or no for each expression. The most important thing when our students are getting ready to enter this test prep season is to think about like what vocabulary do they need to have exposure to, and then also what testing structures are they going to encounter that perhaps they haven't really dealt with much in math and that we can start to integrate in order to boost their confidence. So in this case, we have the word expression, which basically is that 5 times 11 without the equals or the answer. If we had 5 times 11 equals 55, that we would call either an equation or a number sentence. And then what does it mean to be equivalent or the same as? So just making sure that that vocabulary doesn't provide a source of obstacle or a place where they get stuck. So once they have familiarity with the vocabulary, they're understanding that what they're going to do is see which of the following in the blocked out area is equivalent to 5 times 11. They're going to select yes or no, but in this case, first I'm going to ask them to multiply 5 times 11 and find your answer. Because when you use any strategy, again, to solve that, 5 times 11 is 55. Now I can hold on to that 55 and I can use it to assess each of the different options I'm going to encounter. So here we go. 5 times the sum of 10 and 1, is that equivalent to 55? And students are going to have experience knowing that the numbers within the parentheses are the ones that you do first. So that would be 11, and then 11 times 5 is 55, and then they would check mark the yes. So something as simple as using a checkbox or knowing what to do in that space is something that they just need a little bit of experience with before we can have them be really confident in solving these problems accurately. Then we have 5 times 10 plus 1, which is 51. So having them each time they're going down to the next row to solve the expression, and then to see does that equal the 55 and using that as your benchmark. And then lastly, 5 plus the product of 10 and 1. So that one is also not equivalent. So the first one is the yes and the next 2 are no. And in this problem, they're actually answering 4 problems. So the expectation from my students is that they're really slowing down and they're treating this like 4 separate problems that they're going to do computations for instead of racing through it. You know, we want them to slow down and to make sense of the problem. So I recommend that they solve each one and that they have exposure to the yes and no structure of this problem. This takes us to how do we give our students experiences with true false number sentences. So earlier on, we did the how many ways can you make 55? And if there were any misconceptions that came up, or if you want to grab some of the students' responses and set them up to see whether or not they're equal or not, you can do that. And once students have enough experience with true false number sentences, they can come up with their own. So here you see the work of a group of fourth graders that paused and created their own true false number sentences using what they knew about abstract representations, equations, and inequalities, and how we were then able to feature those as our warm-up routine. And the students took such pride in having their problems be the ones that were posed to the students, and they were positioned as the expert, and we included ones that were true as well as false so that they could have opportunities to make it true or to revise some of the false ones to be true. So the level of engagement and understanding of number sentences and equations and inequalities when dealing with these abstract representations in mathematics really is so valuable for all of our learners. So thank you for joining me for the first part of our demystifying assessments for grades 3 through 5. Stay tuned for the next session. And if you would like to reach out, this is my contact information. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment and like the video. And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.